Because they have no evidence to say I've instigated the riots or encouraged in any way. There's no evidence. Evidence doesn't matter when they have the mainstream media. They just hammer you continuously with lies.
Also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them.
Britain has had free speech for a very, very long time, claims Keir Starmer, while UK citizens are being arrested for social media posts and even silent prayers. How can a country that imprisons political commentators for 18 months in solitary confinement claim to champion free expression? Today we're breaking down Tommy Robinson's raw, unfiltered response to Starmer's embarrassing encounter with JD Vance on the international stage. If you've been feeling that something's seriously wrong with the state of free speech in Britain, this analysis confirms your worst fears.
He indicated that we'll play our full part in making sure that any deal, if there is one, and I hope there is, and I think this is a historic moment to make sure it's a lasting deal, and we're about to have a discussion about.
Every single chat show, police officers, politicians, they're all telling you, the British public, that I've incited and instigated the violence on the streets of the UK.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. So there was Keir Starmer standing in the Oval Office next to Donald Trump, declaring with absolute conviction that Britain has a proud history of protecting free speech. The look on his face. Utterly self-assured, not a hint of irony. Was he lying through his teeth or genuinely oblivious to what's happening under his watch? Either possibility is frankly terrifying.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time.
All of these people, these elitists, these 1%, they don't give a shit. None of them care.
Let's examine what Starmer actually said when challenged by JD Vance about Britain's approach to free expression. He didn't just defend it, he boasted about it, claiming the UK has always been a defender of free speech. He spoke these words with the confidence of a man who truly believes his own propaganda, even as his government prosecutes citizens for thought crimes. Meanwhile, as Starmer was painting this rosy picture of British liberty across the Atlantic, Tommy Robinson was sitting in a prison cell at HMP Woodhill. Not for violence, not for theft, but for speaking at a rally. His reality? 18 months behind bars with a brutal regimen of 22 hours daily solitary confinement. This isn't standard treatment for non-violent offenders. It's a punitive measure typically reserved for the most dangerous inmates. Robinson's prison conditions read like something from totalitarian state's playbook. He's forced to eat from tins rather than fresh food. He's barred from purchasing items from the prison shop that other inmates freely access. Family visits are severely restricted, cutting him off from his children. Even his ability to communicate with the outside world is tightly controlled.
So I have to be nice, right? Yeah. But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well.
So Piers is a coward. And if I went on with him, like when I went on with him last time, he can't win the argument or the debate.
These aren't just inconveniences. They're deliberate tactics designed to break a man's spirit. The contrast between Starmer's boasts and Robinson's reality couldn't be more stark. But what makes this situation truly chilling is that Robinson's case isn't an anomaly, it's part of a pattern. JD Vance didn't hold back when confronting Starmer, directly challenging the Prime Minister's claims by pointing to the arrests of ordinary British citizens for social media posts and even silent prayers. Starmer's response? A defensive shuffle and vague platitudes about balancing rights. Not exactly the confident stance of a leader proudly defending free expression. Consider the case of Adam Smith Connor, a British Army veteran who served his country with distinction. His crime? Silently praying in his own head near an abortion clinic. Yes, you read that correctly. Praying silently in his mind. When approached by authorities, he admitted he was praying for his son, lost to abortion years earlier. For this thought crime, he was fined under new buffer zone legislation.
We want Keir Starmer to be looking out that window, because you know the intentions of all of his actions of locking everybody up.
Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
The police literally questioned him about what he was thinking. If the government can punish you for the content of your private thoughts, where exactly is this proud history of protecting free speech that Starmer so confidently referenced? The cases continue to mount. A woman arrested for posting a Facebook meme critical of transgender ideology. A man investigated by police for retweeting a humorous poem. A teenager questioned for posting Bible verses online. Meanwhile, violent criminals receive suspended sentences, and London's knife crime epidemic continues unabated. What's particularly troubling is how these prosecutions target everyday Britons, not just high-profile activists like Robinson, the local shopkeeper who expresses the wrong opinion online, the grandmother who shares a controversial meme, the student who questions progressive orthodoxy in class. All of them at risk of a knock at the door from police officers with more interest in policing speech than preventing violent crime.
The hotels need to be emptied. That's not a minority view, it's a majority view. These barbarians have been welcomed into our nation by our politicians who are raping, pillaging and murdering.
Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around.
Robinson's case stands as a warning to all Britons. Step out of line, challenge the established narrative, and you too could find yourself isolated in a cell, cut off from family and support networks, treated worse than those who commit actual violent crimes. The message is clear: conform or face consequences. The most insidious effect of all this is invisible. It's the conversations not had, the opinions not expressed, the questions not asked. Citizens begin to self-censor not because they've been convinced they're wrong, but because they fear the consequences of being right in the wrong way. A democracy cannot function when its citizens are afraid to speak freely. What we're witnessing is nothing short of an alarming transformation.
I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump.
The hundreds of thousands of people who have gathered peacefully with smiles on their faces to send a message to the communist tyrants in power.
Britain, once a beacon of free expression, is rapidly becoming unrecognisable. Experts warn that if current trends continue, the UK risks completely losing its reputation as a nation that values freedom, potentially becoming a place where simply speaking your mind becomes a criminal act. The gap between Starmer's proud declarations on the international stage and the harsh reality faced by British citizens couldn't be more glaring. This isn't just about Tommy Robinson anymore. It's about the precedent being set for every single person in the country. When the state begins monitoring thoughts, prosecuting words, and imprisoning dissenters, we've crossed a dangerous threshold that threatens the very foundation of democratic society. The most chilling aspect of this situation isn't what's happening today, it's what it signals for tomorrow. When we allow fundamental liberties to be eroded in silence, we're complicit in our own eventual subjugation. This isn't hyperbole, it's the predictable pattern of how freedoms disappear. Not all at once, but incrementally, with each new restriction normalised until we can barely remember what liberty felt like at all.